it would appear that it was written about today, because it is so very much like much of what we are experiencing in life today all around us. We see the divisions, we see the arrogance, we see the pride, we see all these things that the Scripture's talking about here. And prior to what we were reading today, it said, "But to what shall I compare this generation?" Here was Jesus in the midst of the people around him, having done good for all of them. He healed the sick. He raised the dead. He fed the hungry. His ministry to all were signified by the great things that he accomplished on behalf of the needs of the people. Yet it says here, we played the flute, but nobody would dance. We sang a mourning song, but nobody would mourn. The selfishness of individuals, thinking only of themselves, looking at their own situations and not reaching out to touch the lives of others. He says this after going through the areas he had been in before, where he had done much to minister to the needs of people. Cities where the miracles were done. And yet, after he left, they went back to their old ways. They received what he gave them, the healings, the food, the other things. But as soon as he was gone, they were like they were before. And naturally, this would be of great concern to him. And we would think that he would, perhaps like us, murmur and complain, "Well, look at what I did," and they don't even appreciate it. They're not even thankful. After they received a miracle, they went back to their old ways. But in the reading which we had today, the first thing Jesus did, it says that he said, "I praise thee, O Lord, Father, Lord of heaven and earth. I praise thee." Notice he didn't allow the circumstances to take away his thanksgiving to God. He understood God. He understood God's love. He understood God's compassion. Having taken on flesh, he understood also the weakness of flesh. And rather than going before God and saying, "God, crucify these people, burn them, do something to them. They're so unthankful. They're not grateful at all for anything that's been done for them." Instead of that, he said, "I praise you." He recognized his first thought in life was giving honor to God and blessing him with his praise. He said, "I praise thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth." Doesn't matter what I see. Doesn't matter what I'm experiencing. You're still the Lord of heaven and earth. Doesn't matter what people are doing. Doesn't matter what they're rising up against or fighting against. Doesn't matter. You are still the Lord of heaven and earth. And in our lives today, much turmoil, much uncertainty, much fear, much anxiety, people not knowing what tomorrow holds. But at the same time, we know who holds tomorrow. And we know what his heart is in his compassion, his love for the people. But yet at the same time, even though God was that way and is that way, it says, "I am thankful that thou didst hide these things from the wise and intelligent." You didn't tell them the whole story because they weren't open to receiving. he blinded them from the truth, so that even though they had experienced the miracles of God through Christ, they turned back to their old ways of fear and anxiety, the ways of the world, putting their confidence in the world rather than in what God could do for them. You hid the mysteries from the wise and the intelligent, but you shared it with the humble, those who were not boasting and bragging of who they were or what they knew, what they thought they knew, but those who were humble and would say, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I'm grateful for what you've done, and I will walk with you, and I will follow you. Scriptures show us that the heart is not the head is not the home of the gospel or of Christ. It's the heart. There will be, tells us in Romans, there will be the conflict between the mind and the soul. There will be that battle that goes on because we're living in the flesh area. And so when we face issues, sometimes there's conflict between what we believe and what we do. And that's coming after last Sunday's message where he told us we have to go out as sheep among wolves. There will be times when we are discouraged, times when we want to give up, times when we are hurt, when we are offended. But he said, no, I am the one. I will not put you in any situation wherein I have not given you the ability to overcome and conquer. But you can't do it by the mind. It's by the heart. Because you know God will not fail. He will not forsake us. The greatness of God. In today's world, men have delved deeply into the mysteries of nature. They can tell you all the details of how nature functions and nature works. And they get all consumed in this, thinking that they know everything about nature. The same about governments. They deal into the depths of these things. How will these things work and bring about what the people need, or how we can do the best for the people? They delve deeply into these things. They have universities, they have colleges, they have groups that just spend their time studying details of all these things. In our current situation, there are institutions that are spending millions and maybe even billions studying viruses so that they know every detail about a virus. But at the same time, they do not know God. They have no understanding of who God is. Not understanding that God is the one that put all of this together. He is the master of it and the Lord of it. And He is greater than all of those things. But you see, what we have done is we've gotten all this knowledge, and now we think, well, look at me. I have all this knowledge. You listen to the news, you have this one person who will say he's an expert, and then another one who comes with all these degrees, he say he's an expert, and this one will say one thing and this one will say something opposite. So even though they all think they understand and know all these things, yet there's still this division. There's uncertainty. There's no real stability in where we are. We don't know anything about God. We know everything about everything else, yet when it comes to God, we don't know who He is. We don't have a relationship with Him, and it doesn't come out in our lives because we have not gotten close to Him and knowing Him. Even theologians. It's amazing. I have in my library many books by theologians. And when you read them, they're all different. They all claim to know the things of God. They all claim to know that They're the one who has the understanding. They have come up with all the special deals about who God is, how he functions, all the divisions of God, and they have all this new language which they use. Ousia, homoousian, hypostatus, ontology, apoperatic. All these things which go to the very detail of what God is. But do they know him? No. It's amazing how many that claim to be theologians, and not all, but some, they don't even trust God. They have all this detail, and they're so proud. Look, I can tell you this about this. This is why this happens. That's why this happens. But do you know God? No. It's the humble. Because the humble will listen. The humble does not rise up and say, I know this is true and this is not. It's God who knows the truth, and only he who knows the truth. God gives abilities. God gives wisdom. He gives understanding. And he intends man to use it. But he intends man to take what he's given, but not be proud in what he has received, but be thankful and be humble in giving God the credit for what he has given us. It's amazing how the gifts coming from God become then my security, my honor, my pride, intellectual pride. But it's not what God can use. Because even though that gift came from him, if we have the wrong attitude, that gift cannot work well. It cannot be free, because it's not giving glory to God, it's giving glory to me. I'm the authority. I'm the boss. I'm the one who knows everything about this and that and other things. These things God intends us to know, but he intends us to receive them in humility, in dependence upon him. Because the pride, intellectual pride, brings division. Have you ever seen such a time when there is so much division? Everything is divided. Nothing is sure. Nothing is sure. It's amazing how that all this division has caused so much unrest and instability among us. Even the church. The church is so divided. How many different denominations? If you look at YouTube or some of the other things, you see this minister, he's teaching and he's saying, that minister's wrong, that church is wrong, this doctrine is wrong. Then another one is coming up and he's doing the same thing about the same one who just got through attacking others. He's doing the same thing. The divisions are horrendous. Not just outside the church, but in the church. You see it in almost everything around us. Governments, Congress, Senate. Very little unity because we've become a people who believe we know everything. Maybe social media has done this to us, I don't know. But we all think we know everything. Somebody puts something on Facebook or whatever, and they got how many different responses? No, you're wrong, you're this, they're that. Everybody thinks they know. Humility is not a part of our life. Arrogance, pride, thinking that we have the answers and we know what is right. In the medical profession, we're going through all of these things. They're saying this, and saying other things. Now, 7,500 doctors have said, we don't agree now. 100 countries are demanding an investigation, an independent investigation of what's going on, because they said we've been fooled. Division. Some saying this, others saying this, and then they want to attack each other. And here we are as people We are affected by all these things because we're not following what God has given to us. Giving Him the glory. Giving Him the trust. Putting Him where He needs to be in our life as the source of all things in our lives. Doesn't mean we won't know anything. Doesn't mean we will be ignorant. But it means our attitude is God. And what I do not for me. I do for Him and for others. The source of my life. Some say, and these are some of the theologians, they say the identity of God with the Father risks losing its biblical context unless our doctrine of God includes not just the three persons, but also the unique ousia. How many people know what ousia is? And yet, here they say it's not just the Trinity. It has to go beyond the Trinity. Maybe they're right. But the attitude of thinking, I know all of this, I can understand this, and you don't know this, so you have to listen. God gave us His Word, and it's the foundation of our life. It gives to us the strength that we need. Here He says, I'm thankful that you did not give the wise and intelligent the mysteries. He has given the mysteries to us. The question that I would have for us today, what are we doing with the mysteries He has given to us? Do we understand the authority? Do we understand the dominion? Do we understand the fact that He went to the cross for us and removed all of our sin? Not a part, all. Do we understand the mystery of that? Do we put our faith in that, or do we put it in, I made a mistake yesterday. I said something wrong the day before. I failed, I'm no good. I'm worthless, I made a mistake. Yet it says He took all the sin, all the iniquity. Our part is humble in receiving it. Not necessarily because we deserve it, not because we've earned it, but because He gave it to us as a gift. But it's Him, not me. It isn't what I can do, it's what He is doing through me. The humility that I must maintain in my life in order to be what God wants us to be. It means just because the church next door is different than us that they're wrong. Maybe they haven't seen everything the way we have, but just because my hand is different than my foot doesn't mean my hand is wrong. It doesn't mean my foot is wrong. They work together. They have a purpose and a plan. They function to make the whole complete, rather than attacking one another and saying, oh, I'm sure glad I'm not like you, having to walk through all that stuff in the mud and all the other things you have to walk through. At least I'm clean. I get to wash myself every time with the hand sanitizers. They don't have a sanitizer for the feet. See, I'm better than you. See, this is what many of us has become. We think we're better than others. But in reality, no one is better than what Christ has done for us. It's totally dependent upon Him. Completely what He has done. To know God is not by mental search, but by giving attention to Jesus Christ. For in Him we see God and His life, the reality of God. You can't get to God any other way but through Christ. To know Christ is to know the Father. To understand the love of Christ is to understand the love of God. And to understand that love, then it shows us who we are and who we are supposed to be. How we care and how we reach out and how are we concerned for others as God was concerned for us. Can you imagine having created the earth, everything in it, having created all the animals, all the people, given to man such power and ability to be like him. And then he fails. Man fails. Man turns against God, becomes a traitor. What's God going to do? Become angry and destroy? Or out of love, because it's his creation, he would send his only Son to wipe away the sin. Not looking for somebody taking blame. He wiped it all away and gave holiness and righteousness to us. New life, that we might know him and we might walk with him. I believe that one of the reasons this is for today is because we are in a crisis around us. And if the church doesn't rise up, there's no hope. There's no hope anywhere else but through God. It's the only answer we have. As I was praying this morning, it just came to me, okay, we've had all these rules and regulations. We've had quarantine. We've had masks. We've had holy sanitized hand washer. We walk across something when we come in. You drive your car through some areas of the city. They spray your car with this disinfectant. But what happens? The figures are going up and up and up. And just as I was there for a moment, I thought, didn't God give us cleansing? Yeah. And what did he say to the church? Use incense. And use holy water. And I thought, the church has failed to understand what these things are for. So we got here this morning, got out the thurible, put incense in there, and we incensed the whole place, and then used holy water. Better than the sanitized hand cleaner or the mask or other things. And I'm not attacking those who are saying don't do that. But our faith is in God. Our faith is in him. Other things are failing. Failing. Just, I forget the other day in the U.S., 5,000 new cases in one day. 5,000. We're not going down. It seems like things are getting worse. Why? Maybe our trust should be in him. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray. Seek my face, turn from their wicked ways. Then will I hear their cry and heal their nation. Are we seeing this? Are we seeing this? Are we seeing the churches getting together and praying? Or are we seeing them telling the church you can't get together? You can't function. Why? Because the enemy doesn't want this thing to stop. He wants to destroy. That's what he's here for. But if the church would pray, see, intellect sometimes gets us in trouble. Obedience, humbleness, humility to God brings in what God has given to us. In 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 21, it says, the world through its wisdom did not come to know God. Will not find the answer. Remember, the prayer of Jesus, Lord, you are Lord and Master of heaven and earth. Lord, heaven and earth. He's the boss. He's the one who has all the secrets, all the mysteries to be revealed to us. 1 Timothy, Paul was talking and he said, guard what has been trusted to you. Avoid worldly and empty chatter and the opposing arguments of what is falsely called knowledge, which some have professed and have thus gone astray from the faith. Now listen how clear that speaks to us today. Guard what has been entrusted to you, given to you. We've been given the life of Christ. We've been given forgiveness. We've been forgiven new life. We've been given authority over everything. Remember, every disease and every sickness. It's given to us authority. Guard what has been entrusted to you. New life, holiness, righteousness. Avoid worldly and empty chatter and the opposing arguments of what is falsely called knowledge. You see, today, we think we know more than God. I heard one television personality saying, "What is this? You don't need help from above." When you come to a situation, say, "Oh, we'll pray." Why? Why do you need to pray? There's no help coming from above. The attack against God. Everything is man's knowledge. Whatever man can do, he thinks he's got it all. He may have it, but if he's not giving God the credit, it won't work. They issued some statements just the last couple of days. Churches can meet, but they can't sing. Because if you sing, you spit. And so you'll pass a disease. Scriptures tell us to sing a joyful song unto the Lord. Sing a joyful song. It's not the disease, it's obedience. God will watch over those who walk with him. He ends this verse, or our reading, by saying, "Take my yoke upon you." A yoke is that which goes around the neck of an ox. And normally it's putting two ox together so that they walk in unity. They put them together, and the yokes are carved very carefully to fit tightly, but yet not too tight, on the shoulders of the ox. They work side by side. One cannot stop if the other one is moving, because they're together. If there's a load there, they're carrying it 50-50. They're all working together in unity. And the scripture says, "Take my yoke upon you." This is Jesus speaking to us. I want to work with you. I want to be yoked with you. Because if I'm there, I'm carrying the load with you. You're not alone. You're not going to find yourself overburdened, and you will not want to give up, because I'm there with you. He said, "Take my yoke upon you and learn" from where? From me. From me, not from the world around you. From me. "For I am gentle and humble in heart." And notice how it told us earlier, how that God gave to the humble, the babes. Christ was humble. He was not arrogant. He did not try to do things on his own. He only did what the Father told him to do. He only spoke the things that he heard the Father say. He was submissive. He wasn't arrogant. He wasn't struggling to build his own kingdom. "I am humble in heart, and you shall find rest." Why rest? Because he's sharing the load. I only have to work 50%. He's doing the rest himself. One thing that this is me, it's him working through my flesh. He's the one working through my flesh, not me, it's him. And if that's the way it is, it's amazing how this flesh, even though it gets a little older, can still have ability, because it's him working through it. It's not me. It's him in me. We're yoked together. And what a beautiful thought that is to realize. I don't have to face this alone. He's right there. This big hunk is carrying the load with me. In the older days, these yokes were they were pieces of art, because they were carved so finely to fit the animal. It fit him exactly the way it should be. And it says to us, whatever the ministry is he gives to us, it's not too hard. It's meant for us. It's created for us, and we are created for it. And we have the ability to accomplish it because he's there with us. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. It doesn't mean that it's going to be something that's easy to do, but because he's there with us, and it's love that he's put this yoke upon us, that love will help us carry the load, and it will help us accomplish the task because we're accomplishing in love, in compassion with him, in thanksgiving to him. What a beautiful, beautiful thought here after last week. I'm sending you out as sheep among the wolves. You're going to be persecuted. You're going to have trials. You're going to be put down. You might even be martyred. Don't worry about it. It's not going to be hard. When you read the stories of the saints that have been martyred in the past, you don't find them fighting. You don't find them defending themselves. You know, they just simply said, okay, if that's what you feel you have to do, go ahead. But I will win the battle because you can't kill me. You may destroy the flesh, but I will leave and go to be with the Father. You can't stop me. The understanding that greater is he who is with us than he who is against us. My yoke is easy. Why? Not because it's light or no real struggle there. You know, many of us think, I'm not going to have any problems. The jeepney will be right there when I go out. There'll be a seat for me and there won't be too many people close to me. And when I get to where I want to be, I'll be able to get down right at the door. Thinking everything's easy. It's not that he's promising. It's promising that whatever we face, it becomes easy because he's with us. It may not be pleasant at the moment. Doesn't matter. He's there to help us. He's there to give us the strength. He's there to give us the courage. He's there to give us that love. So we can face whatever comes because we walk with him. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. Some people I've heard say, oh, it's so difficult to be a Christian. It's because you're not. You're not. If you're having a problem, you're not a Christian. Because the Christian has God right there with them. And this is where we get into trouble because we have claimed things, but we haven't fulfilled them. We believe Christ came, but if he came, then we need to now be manifesting his life. So it's not difficult to be a Christian. It's difficult not to be. Because that's when things are really on our own. We fight the battles in the flesh. We fight the battle with our own energy. We fight the battle with whatever we know. But when God is there, the battle becomes his. He knows how to win the battle, and we become the overcomers because of him. Such a beautiful thing that God gives to us. Don't worry about who's going to persecute you. It won't be difficult. It won't be hard. It may not be pleasant, but remember, he's right there. That's why you can smile in the midst of it. And that smile makes the enemy mad. Doesn't like it when you're being happy. But God has given to us the joy. The joy of the Lord is our strength. So we see the good, not the bad. Yeah, okay, so it looks like I'm going to stumble. Big deal. Big deal. We can do it. We can handle it because he's there with us. And we will not fall to destruction. But he'll raise us up and bring new life to us. We are a blessed people. God is with us. And he wants us to know that. Let us not be like the others. He sang songs to us and we didn't dance. No, we need to be happy. God has given to us life. We have plenty to be thankful for. God is a great God. He loves his people. Amen. Please stand.